Welcome back. We're on the writing awards sections here. We're going to break down a couple of the categories one by one, same as we did before, best and the worst. And we're going to start off with the best and the worst catchphrase or slogan of the year. And I'm going to breeze through this a little bit. I almost gave it to the worst, to Fella, because Sheamus is annoying as shit when he was doing that. But there's one more that took the cake when it came to just flat out fucking annoying. This is my house! Fucking done with it. I don't want to ever hear this a single more time, even when other people reference it. Like, if Charlotte's in a match with Paige or something and she does it, I don't want to fucking hear it. I'm done with it. No more. There's nothing positive about this. You're not tough. Shut up.
How about when Baron Corbin did it?
Baron Corbin, if he can do that, if he can turn it around, then he's a total justifiable one to watch. But I don't think he can do it. Best of the year, and this was tough because this was really close between one that I think a lot of people are going to pick, so I'll just kind of not really mention that. I'll bring it up if somebody does. But the one I ended up going with, New Day Sucks. New Day Rocks, whatever you end up chanting. That one started a whole new version of a type of chant, and it just became something that propelled people into the next stratosphere, and I got to give it to that. So, Calen, best and worst slogan or catchphrase, what are you going with?
Well, I'm not sure exactly what you were thinking that one is everyone's going to pick for the best, but this might be it. To me, it seemed like it could have easily been unscripted, but it caught on big time with the fans. It was at WrestleMania, and that's Suplex City Bitch. Is that the one you were thinking?
That's it.
So good. I mean, it was one that could have easily just been, maybe the mic wouldn't even pick it up. It kind of seemed like it wasn't that intentional, like it wasn't shoved down our throat like a lot of the intentional stuff was. So kind of being a throwaway line, and just it captured just that spirit of the match and just the ferociousness of Lesnar. So I'm going to go with that. The worst, I'm going to go with, there's a lot of options for worst. I'm going to go with one that we saw recently. Hopefully it was just a one-time deal, but it was enough to make it the worst of the year, and that is Tater Tot. I don't know if that counts, but he said it enough that it was basically a catchphrase for at least one night. Had he just said it once, I wouldn't even be thinking about it right now. But he ended up saying it like 6 more times. And I don't even like it when The Rock does all the dicks and balls jokes and all the stuff. Like, I don't know, sophomoric, which, I'm into some of that stuff. But then again, I didn't like this one. This was so awful and forced. So please, Roman Reigns, no more jokes about people's genitalia.
Drew, best and worst catchphrase or slogan?
Well, for best catchphrase, I went with "How you doing?" Just because I like it. It's simple. How you doing? And also, you go easily just be Joey Tribbiani. Just be like, "How you doing?" So, I went with that for my best. My worst, for a while I was considering, this is my house, but that sucks. But a good old woo might suck as well, and yes, it does. So I just went with the woo, just because I'm not into the woo. I know some people like the woo, but not everyone needs to play their fucking career off their father. Just give this girl something else other than her fucking father. And like 4 years from now, this girl is going to be nothing because it's going to be played out. You can only do this for so long. She needs to be doing something else other than wooing everywhere. So it's got to be my worst.
All right, Paden, you're up next.
Well, it's hard to disagree with New Day Sucks or New Day Rocks, or however you want to put it. That caught on so much that it basically saved those guys' run. Well, whatever they were doing before that caught on, they were not doing very good. They were not catching on with fans. We were shitting all over them. Not a single one of us were digging what they had going on, where they were just shucking and jiving in there and whatever the hell they were doing.
I still liked it.
It was terrible. But they had that brought them on into everything that they've done since then. And that chant caught on so much that they've made spin-offs of that chant. It's made this cadence a regular thing that you're hearing with other things, from everything from Blue Pants Rocks to Tater Tots, probably. Did they do it with that? No, that's right, because no one liked Tater Tots.
Tater Tots.
Tots.
I mean, it works with it.
Yeah, it actually makes that kind of fun to say. But that's my best. For my worst, There's a lot of bad ones about this one, but I think I have to go with Welcome to the Wasteland. I just did not dig the whole presentation that they gave the Ascension when they first came up. They were very cheesy, and normally I like cheesy, but then they made them look like goofballs. So you have to be able to be cheesy and still be tough to back it up. If you do cheesy and then you're just lame, then you're just Adam Rose.
Shaun, best and worst catchphrase or slogan?
No, I'm taking it back. Whatever Adam Rose signs off with on the rose bush. What does he say? When the rose is in bloom, I have the dirt. Or whatever the hell it is that he says.
If you have a bush, then the rose is, I don't know. Like...
yeah, it's that bull crap. Never mind. I'm making it that.
Don't be a lemon, be a rosebud. All right. The best. I have gone with Ready, Willing, and Gable.
All right, good.
And I don't know why. It's simple. It rolls off the tongue. It's pretty good. I have also gone with Soft, just because it's very crowd interactive. Worst. I have gone with none other than Believe That.
So believe, not believe.
Believe that.
That one time the
Roman
Roman
says
says
it.
better.
It's the way Roman says it. He always says believe that. He can't fucking speak English. Fucking Samoan prick.
Who do we have saying somebody can't speak English?
What is his native language? He speaks English from birth. He's from Florida.
He has less of an accent than you fucking wanker.
I don't care. All right, Welsh is my national language.
I'm going to be surprised if he doesn't give Roman Reigns the worst diva of the year at this point. Wago, round us out. Catchphrase. Who's got the best and who's got the worst?
Well, I thought that was reserved for CM Punk, but as far as best and worst catchphrase goes, the worst is Bada Bing, hottest chick in the ring. I fucking hate Carmella.
Oh, she's so hot, though. She is the hottest chick in the ring at that point.
No.
She is.
Only when she says the catchphrase, she is the hottest chick in the ring. When she's not saying it, though. Someone else.
Asuka. She's awesome. But, yeah, Carmella isn't. As far as best goes, I have to give it to New Day Rocks.
New Day does indeed rock. Gimmick. Pretty self-explanatory. Who's got the best character and the worst character? All right, well, this is kind of self-explanatory. This one, too. Worst, Adam Rose. There you go. Best gimmick? The New Day. I'm already done. I don't need to explain myself. Wago, best and worst gimmick.
Well, worst, again, Adam Rose. And you know what? Pick the gimmick. I don't even care which one. They all sucked.
Good, yeah. Was it his one that was really shitty at the beginning of the year, or was it his other one that was really shitty in the middle of the year?
He literally had one that was called the Party Pooper. So you know it was shitty.
Yeah.
And the best? He doesn't quite have a gimmick, but best character is Kevin Owens.
Oh,
Everything he says, it's fucking funny. It's either funny, real, or offensive, and I like all of those.
Wago, best and worst. Oh no, Wago, you just did it.
Right, so for the best, I've got the New Day.
Shaun, what do you think? Best, I have gone with fun-loving Corporate King. I don't know why, but the last run of Corporate King has been pretty funny. I enjoyed that.
I never would have imagined somebody putting down Corporate Kane for what. I was expecting a couple answers. That was not one of them.
The fun-loving Corporate King. You know, the sarcastic one.
Oh, the one who was like making the jokes about like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill you in this game of Call of Duty that I just bought you," or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, that was fucking great. Worst, I have gone with King Barrett because he's done fucking nothing with it. Absolutely nothing. All he's got is a fucking t-shirt. Big fucking whoop. Boom.
You're going to go against your fellow countrymen. One you sung an outro for.
God save the king.
Oh no, Boat King. Paden, gimmicks.
I was really hoping we were going to be able to make this unanimous because the worst is absolutely Adam Rose. The guy just sucks. And again, every gimmick he's done this year has been terrible. The party guy was actually kind of fun when he first did it coming out in NXT, but it got really stale really fast, and then the promos got really weird. And then he became the party pooper, and nobody cared. And now he's doing this Rosebush thing, which is just offensively bad. Like, it actually kind of hurts to watch those segments. So, by far, he has to go with the worst. Best gimmick? Brock Lesnar. The guy just came around and kicked ass whenever he was around and had his hand raised at the end. You don't get much better than that.
All right, Drew.
For best, I'm going with Brock Lesnar as well. You know, he's an ass-kicking machine, and that's all he is, and that's all he needs to be. So he is definitely my best when it comes to gimmick. Worst gimmick, it's multi-personality disorder, Kane, and mainly you don't have to refer to him as Demon Kane. We already know what that Kane is. What was he the previous 14 years when he was going around just as himself? So. And Corporate Kane, it was what it was, but it definitely was nothing to harp on, unlike Shaun, who's a fucking wanker and thinks Corporate Kane's the greatest gift on earth. So, that is my worst.
Corporal Kane was the fucking bee's knees, man.
No, if he was the bee's
around.
anything, he was the bee's eyes.
What?
What? Should have said the
not following.
bees, yes.
Okay.
And to be fair, you guys shit on Adam Rose, but he did bring the bee.
Yeah, but the bee's fucking gone, so how good could the bee be?
Yeah, but he didn't bring the bee's knees.
Maybe Rusev just swatted Rosita away. I don't know.
What a fucking asshole.
Yeah, what a jerk.
Yeah, you really are, Drew.
Calen, who's got the best and the worst gimmick?
I believe it was Wago also said, I'm going to go with my best, Kevin Owens. I almost went with Lesnar, but Kevin Owens is also a guy who just comes in and kicks ass. But besides just being an unstoppable beast, he's definitely a loner. You know, he doesn't have a Paul Heyman. He doesn't have anybody really backing him up. He's just out there doing it for his family. He's going to do whatever he's got to do. So I'm going to say Kevin Owens has the best gimmick right now. As far as worst gimmick, I was really close, and in fact, I just scribbled out my notes. I was going to give it to Darren Young, because he doesn't really have much of a personality or gimmick. He's just kind of that guy with Titus, and, I mean, never entertains me. But you guys have convinced me. I was going to say Adam Rose before, but I was like, nah, he's just annoying, but at least he has a gimmick. But no, you guys reminded me how absolutely terrible Adam Rose is. So I am going to change my opinion at the last minute and say Adam Rose has the worst gimmick.
I don't think there's going to be much of a debate against that in the comments, but if you like them, tell us, and tell us why the fuck you like them too. Heel or face turn is our next category here, and that could be for either one, either the best heel turn, the best face turn, the worst heel turn, worst face turn, whatever the case may be. I'm giving my worst to Los Matadores because they turned heel just to disappear right afterward. And if they would have followed it up with some kind of a gimmick change or something, I might not have even considered it a bad one necessarily. But it was kind of pointless. Like, do you remember them at all? Let alone, do you remember them turning heel? No. And we could have used another tag team, so I think they just handled that very poorly. But the best has to be the New Day turning heel. And that just skyrocketed them, and ever since then they've been able to hit their stride and just keep going higher and higher and higher. And you know, as good as they were at different points of the year, whatever they were when they were a babyface just wasn't as good as when they were started going to heel. So heel turn definitely goes to best heel turn, I should say, goes to the New Day. And Calen, what do you think?
Got to agree. Best turn was the New Day turning heel. It was long overdue. We were all anticipating. We knew it was going to happen eventually, and we knew it was going to be good when it did happen, and it was even better than I had anticipated. It was so desperately needed. It revitalized the group, and as right now, they're pretty much on top of the heel list. So I'm going to go with New Day. As far as the worst turn, I'm going to say the Bellas going back and forth between heel and face every week, or sometimes on Raw and SmackDown. You can't really put, like, now they're heel, now they're face, now they're tweeners. Like, what the hell? It's just confusing, and I don't like them whether they're heel or face. And make up your mind, ladies. Going with the Bellas.
Speaking of ladies, Drew, what do you think?
Well, Calen is the girl's name, so you were wrong about that. But anyways, when it comes to best turn, definitely New Day, 100%. Really helped the group out, so, I mean, not much you can really say about it. When it comes to worst face or heel turn, I'm going to go with Fandango turning face. That's because he turned face for that one episode, and then nothing came out of it. Like Tony mentioned earlier in the last part, he saw nothing all year. He saw underused talent, and the face turn led to nothing. So he would be my worst of the year.
Paden, what are you thinking?
Oh, it's Fandango there because it's fun. That's what we got out of it. We got the Fandango one more time. It's like a reminder, like, hey, remember how fun this was that one time, guys? Is it fun again? No? All right, never mind. Putting it back in the job reel. My best turn, I would have to... Actually, let me do the worst first. Because the worst I would have to also give to one that was really confusing for me. And that was everybody involved in that whole love triangle between Dolph Ziggler, Rusev, Lana, Summer Rae, because I never really know who was supposed to be what at any point during that whole thing, and it seemed like they were bouncing back and forth, especially Dolph Ziggler. I never know how to feel about Dolph Ziggler, and eventually I just hated him. And not like the way they wanted me to hate him, I just hated him. Best one, and I don't think a lot of people would expect this one to come from me, Samoa Joe. They really had a slow burn on that. They kindled the friendship between him and Finn Balor, and then Samoa Joe went and destroyed him.
Shaun.
Best, I have gone with also Samoa Joe. Because of, well, you know, Samoa Joe, he turned on his best mate. What more can you say? You know? For worst, I haven't got anything jotted down because they've all been shit. So I had to pick something. I would pick the Bellas just because I have to pick something. So there you go.
Wago.
Alright, so for the worst, I had to give it to Sheamus. I felt it was just very underwhelming. He came back more as a laughingstock. And whilst that's great for a few "you look stupid" chants, it doesn't have any real hate. I liked the bully direction at first, but it just fell flat, and then he was just same old Sheamus, another guy on the roster not doing anything. It contributed nothing to his career. And the best is, I'm going to be echoing what Paden said, Samoa Joe. Whilst it was predictable and kind of what everyone expected, it didn't make it any less satisfying. And Joe's looking like a beast again. He looks like the Joe of old. It's great.
That takes us into best and the worst comeback of the year, which could have been pretty much anybody if they were a legend or if they were somebody coming back from an injury or anything like that. I mean, it tends to be more on like the legend side of things and stuff, but wide range of different things you could pick from this one. My worst was Ric Flair's repeated returns because this guy keeps showing up and he keeps beating down this Charlotte Woo thing that we all are just we were done with when they first started it, let alone we still want to keep seeing it over and over again. And he just looks like he's a shell of him former self. I don't want to see him backstage just going like this all the time. It's really it's unsettling. Best though, DX versus NWO at WrestleMania. That was fucking awesome. And then basically this turned into a nostalgia segment for two of my favorite factions that have ever been in the company. I was a big fan of the NWO in WCW. It was pretty much one of the only things I liked about WCW. DX was my favorite stable in WWE history. So to see those two go back, a lot of my favorite wrestlers of all time, Shawn Michaels, of course. I really liked the New Age Outlaws. Really was a big fan of Kevin Nash and Scott Hall back in the day too and stuff. It was just I couldn't have wanted something better than that. That was so cool. The only thing that really I think should have ended up being just maybe a slight difference was maybe we had a couple more people on the NWO side of things or something to balance it out a little bit. But big fan of that, and best comeback by far as far as I'm concerned. Wago, comebacks. What are you going with best and worst?
Okay, so for the best, I have to give it to The Rock's comeback with Ronda Rousey, because that was fun as fucking hell. It got me excited for a match that's probably never going to happen now. Or maybe it'll happen sooner if her fucking career goes downhill from here. Worst? Tommy fucking Dreamer. Jesus Christ, what the fuck happened to him? Pudgy, fat, balding, and whatever the fuck his pants were meant to be. Christ. He could barely walk out there, yet he got an elimination against the Wyatt family. The fuck?
He was the one that got Eric
Yeah,
Rowan?
he beat Eric Rowan on an episode of Raw when they had that like clusterfuck tag match.
I thought it was Luke Harper eliminated.
Now it was Rowan.
Paying his dues for that future legend status. Shaun. Comebacks.
Best, I've gone with James Storm.
That kind of can't be a comeback.
It's a
That was
comeback.
Steve
He
doing a comeback.
revitalized his career, alright? That's a comeback in my opinion. Worst, I've gone with Chris Jericho, Japan. There was no need for him to be there. Just for Neville to lose. Did he lose against Chris Jericho? I think he did, right?
Yeah, he lost against Jericho, and that isn't even the worst Jericho return that year. Didn't he? Wasn't he into like some sort of six-man tag, or was that last year?
That was this year, the six-man
Yeah,
tag, right?
he was the Night of Champions.
Yeah,
surprise.
basically anything Chris Jericho has done this year has been fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He dabbled in a little bit here and there.
And it was just a shame because Chris Jericho is my favorite wrestler of all time. So
Paden, best and worst comeback. What do you got?
I'm agreeing with you, Tony. Ric Flair's multiple appearances that we've had this year have just been annoying, outstaying their welcome. Cannot wait until they finally decide to separate him and Charlotte, and we don't have to deal with his woos, and unfortunately we'll still have to deal with her woos. Her woos. My best. Oh crap! I just had it, and now it's gone out of my head. Ah crap!
Best comeback is going to be when this comes back to you.
Yeah. Ah crap! Where'd it go? I had it. You have to come back to me.
Right, true.
All right. Well, worst comeback. It's definitely gonna be Tommy Dreamer. He came back a little fatter, a little bit more pants, and a little bit not care.
He came back a little bit more pants.
I was about to comment on that. Hey Tommy, you okay, buddy? You're looking a little more pants than usual.
I think last time I saw you, you were doing pretty good. You were less pants, weren't you?
Well, anyways, best comeback. I'm gonna have to go with Sting. Not the first time around, but when and like not the night after. What was it? The night after SummerSlam where they did the big old ceremony and they revealed the Seth statue, but it turned out to be Sting. I was really pumped for the match at that point, and at that moment I was like, "Oh man, dude, Sting probably won't win the title, but man, I bet they'll have a great match." And unfortunately, that whatever injury he got ruined it. But you know, up till that moment, I was like, "Man, I'm." Accidentally muted my mic. I got so excited. So excited I muted the mic, but I was just excited for what the match had to come, hopefully. So, Sting, second return, my best.
Paden, did you figure it out yet?
Yeah. I can't believe I fucking forgot it. I lost my app and I finally found it. And I can't believe I didn't just think of it off the bat anyway. The greatest return this year was someone who unfortunately didn't even actually get to make a real return, and that is the Macho Man Randy Savage. Finally welcomed back into the graces of the WWE, inducted into the Hall of Fame after a long time, deservedly so. That's who I have to give the greatest comeback to, and it's only a shame that we couldn't have him there himself to give that speech and do who knows what else. He could have been on Raw this year having lots of fun.
Oh, we kind of had him come back with Macho Man now.
Yeah, okay.
Calen, best and worst comeback of the year.
All right. I'm going to say for the best comeback, some of my favorites from 15 years ago, and that would be the Dudley Boys. I'm glad they are back in action now. I think they're looking about as good as they did before. I mean, wouldn't know that they're as old as they are. So I'm going to say, and they sort of teased it too with Bubba Ray coming back at the Royal Rumble by himself. Didn't have Devon at the time. They kind of had R-Truth in that role. But I think when they came back together, I would say that is the best comeback for me of the year. As far as the worst comeback, I'm going to go with The Rock at the Royal Rumble at the very end to help congratulate Roman Reigns, basically to put him over, because I don't remember the last time I saw The Rock look uncomfortable in a WWE ring, and he was just like, wait, you guys are booing, but I'm The Rock, and this is Roman Reigns, and this is the guy you all like, and what's going on?
Tater tots, right, guys?
Yeah, so I'm going to, because that would just felt awkward to me.
I'll never forget, right after that happened, and I'm definite this wasn't on camera, but I remember we could see from our seats, Rock gets out of the ring, and he talks to one of the ring crew guys there, and he like smiles at the guy while shaking his head, and you can visibly see in his mouth, he's like, can you believe this?
Yeah, he basically was just kind of like, what the fuck? Well, I don't fucking know. Like,
Yeah, that's exactly, and that translated on TV too, like when I was watching it. So I'm gonna have to say that felt so forced. It was so awkward, and it was out of place. So I'm gonna say The Rock.
good choices here. We got a category that kind of calls back to one from the previous thing: improvement in a division instead of in a superstar, and that's anything from the legends that can come back, the main event from the main roster, mid card, tag team, divas, the enhancement talent, or you can even break this down to the main event and so forth for NXT. Lots of different divisions and a couple different choices that I think could go either way with this. My biggest regression was the NXT Tag Team division, and that's not even so much to say that it's a bad division, because it isn't. It's just when you look at something based off of what it had for a potential going into the year and what it ended up becoming and stuff, a lot of people I think are going to give this to the Divas things, and it's not the worst division. It's the biggest regression of a division. Worst division by far is the main event, the main roster Divas division. But they have always sucked. So they didn't get worse this year. They stayed the same. But the NXT Tag Team division, we had the Ascension going in, and it was like they were the longest running NXT Tag Team champions, the first ones. They were really making it seem like those tag titles were going to be awesome. And every time that they decided to change the titles, it went to something that didn't seem like it was the right choice necessarily. We went like Blake and Murphy. Well, actually, we first started off with the Lucha Dragons, and it was like, well, the Lucha Dragons are going to win this? All right, I guess so. And then they dropped it to Blake and Murphy, and it was like, well, who the fuck are Blake and Murphy? And then Blake and Murphy drops it to the Vaudevillains instead of Enzo and Cass, which seemed like that would have been the perfect opportunity. The Vaudevillains, they lost a lot of their steam when they won those tag titles, and then when they looked like they were going to lose to somebody like Enzo and Cass, they lost it to Dash and Dawson. Who the fuck cares about Dash and Dawson? Now we just had Enzo and Cass lose another thing here. Thankfully, we have a lot of good tag teams like Gable and Jordan. Blake and Murphy have gotten a little bit better. The Hype Bros have gotten better and stuff. But I think that it started off at the beginning of the year with so much potential. And despite having so many good tag teams, it didn't amount to anywhere close to what it should have been. But the biggest improvement, the main roster mid-card, and that's partially because of the combination of the two world titles. We've started to get into this little rhythm now where the people like the Alberto Del Rios, who weren't necessarily main event worthy as often as they were before, they've become the mid-card people. And it's kind of like what we used to have with like Mr. Perfect and stuff. That U.S. title championship open challenge thing alone is the reason why the mid-card ended up having such a big boost this year. And the IC title struggled a little bit, but it's kind of gotten a little bit more of a boost since then. And I think that this is probably the best year for the mid-card title. And last year, not so much. This year, big steps up. So, Calen, you were, I think, the last person, right? You were also muted.
Oh, there we go. Okay, cool. All right. Now, as far as improvements, well, I'm going to start with regressions. The biggest regression, I would say, would be the WWE main event. I mean, injuries has been the theme this year. We lost Seth Rollins to injury, Daniel Bryan to injury. Cena was away filming a show, but just between everything, it seems like just the big stars are missing. So I'm going to have to go with the WWE main eventers. As far as the biggest improvement, I'm going to go with the Divas main roster. Calling up the four horsewomen, well, Charlotte, Becky, and Sasha. And it's true, they have not fully utilized them yet. They're not doing what they need to do, but it's a step in the right direction, and it's a huge improvement over the Divas division otherwise. So if it weren't for them, then it would be a joke. It would be a total joke. So bringing them up, I think, was, taking something that's almost zero and an infinite times of improvement. So, Divas.
Drew, you're next.
I don't think there was a lot of improvement anywhere, and that's mainly due to injuries. And on the NXT side, especially with their main event picture, those guys, they get called up eventually. So, when it comes to least improved or just, overall worst off right now, it's the WWE main event. And that's mainly because of injuries. But even, the mid card as well, especially towards the end of the year. Injuries are starting to stack up down there as well. It's a terrible time to get injured because everyone's getting injured, and when it comes to the best, I'm not getting into the Divas division because it never goes to the Divas division for anything ever until they actually deserve it. Tag team division has been terrible this year for the most part. Only the New Day has been of note since Cesaro and Kid got injured. So for the best, I'm going to go with the NXT main event picture, and that's mainly because they lost Kevin Owens. Sami Zayn's been out for chunks of the year. Neville gets called up to the main roster. For a while it looked like, will Finn Balor be able to carry this division? Will Kevin Owens, when he was there, will he be able to carry it? And they've done it rightfully so, and even to an extent, the women's division in NXT is the main event now. So overall, those two things in particular, they're carrying that show. So definitely the most improved or the least catastrophic out of everyone, definitely going to be the main event in NXT.
What a good award to win. Least catastrophic.
Yep.
All right, Paden.
Tony, I'm going to have to completely disagree with you because my most improved actually goes to the NXT Tag Team Division. I don't know what you were talking about because at the beginning of this year, the NXT Tag Division was in dire straits. They just came off of the previous year being 100% ran by the Ascension. That's all that was there for that year, and now the Ascension was main roster bound. So people had no idea what was happening in the tag team division at that point. It wasn't until we started developing up Blake and Murphy. We finally got Enzo back in the picture because he came back from injury. So we got Enzo and Cass back there. Through this year is where we developed all these great tag teams like Jason Jordan and Gable, like the Vaudevillains. And this year was also when we saw that awesome tag team division tournament for Dusty Rhodes. So I don't know how you can say that it wasn't a good division this year. They were incredible this year. People already knew how good the Divas division was. Again, this was about how much it's changed from the previous year. They kind of stayed level. Tag team division, I think, took a huge, huge leap up, and I think we're only going to see it continue to skyrocket going into next year. Now, biggest regression for me, I actually didn't even know this was one that was an option, and I originally had the main event due to all the injuries and stuff like that, but once I re-looked at your list here, I had to change my answer. Got to go with the Legends. When you really think back to this year, with how annoying Ric Flair was, with Hulk Hogan getting all the racist comments and getting himself erased, Jimmy Snuka finally being accused. What's what I'm looking for? Acquitted? No, he wasn't acquitted. He was
charged. Would that be what you're looking for?
Well, he was convicted. He was finally convicted of murder that he did like 20 plus years ago, and just a lot of legends just have not had a good year this year. Oh, and as if all that wasn't enough, we had to close the year with that weird video that Jake the Snake put up for Bray Wyatt.
Yeah.
Dumb job.
You know what? You've convinced me here. I'm actually changing my notes because I haven't published my notes yet at the time we were recording this. I forgot about how bad the Legends were this year. The Hulk Hogan thing in particular and Flair and all that. My vote has changed. You've convinced me otherwise. The Legends was the worst of this year.
I'm sticking to mine.
I think even people like Jim Ross and Mick Foley have gotten on the ire of us lately, and we've just completely made jokes of them.
Poor guys. All right, Shaun, what do you think?
The best for me, the NXT Women's Division, with the likes of the matches you had between Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Becky Lynch, and Charlotte, and Emma, and Dana, and all them. I think the NXT division the women's division was strong. For worst, at the moment, currently, the NXT Women's Division, with the likes of Eva Marie and Nia Jax. So, bit of both there. Best and worst, the NXT
for two women, you say it's the worst?
Damn fucking A. Have you seen these bitches wrestle?
Well, one's big
Jax
enough
ain't
to be
that
the
bad.
whole division.
Nia Jax is fucking terrible.
She's not that bad.
She can't take a fall.
She doesn't need to. She's fucking huge.
Yes.
No one should be able to take her down.
And she's a monster!
She's a monster!
She shouldn't have tapped out at fucking NXT. That takeover, that's for damn sure.
She should have had a Snickers.
Yeah, exactly. She didn't need a Snickers before the match. That's why she lost.
Do they still do those "You're not yourself, when you're hungry" kind of commercials?
Well, they still show the
Yes.
fucking Brady Bunch one all
Which-
the time.
Would she be the before or after?
Uh,
Probably the before and then the after is The Rock.
I
No,
would
no,
really,
after
I would hope for
definitely.
her case that she would be the before, and that when she would eat a Snickers, she would turn into somebody much
Hey, so
better.
if she's
She,
the after,
she would turn into Tamina after she eats the Snickers.
if she was the after, I don't know what the before would be, and I don't want to
Alexa
know.
Bliss.
Oh man, Shaun, did you do both of yours?
Yep. NXT Women's and NXT Women's.
All right, Wago.
Looking at the whole year as a whole, I have to agree that the NXT Divas division probably shined the best. And at first I was worried about this new group that's coming in, mainly Nia Jax, but Asuka gives me hope, so I'm going to put that as my most improved.
That's not what she gets you.
As far as what's just gone downhill the most, I preferred the shitty Nikki and Brie Divas division because the shit they've given us this year has been terrible. This new blood, it hasn't breathed any life into it.
All right, now we're going to move into shocking moments of the year, the most surprising and the least surprising thing that happened. My least surprising thing, John Cena wins the U.S. title at WrestleMania by beating Rusev, the guy that he beat basically at Fastlane for the most part. Come on. If there's one thing that I would have bet the house on for the entire year, it would have been John Cena winning that match. So any other matches possibly could go one way or another. That there was no surprise whatsoever to that. And they kind of acted like that was a big surprise because it was when Rusev finally lost, he got pinned and stuff, but it was less like, why don't we just fast forward until the point where they're celebrating, because that's all we needed to do. Most shocking moment of the year. I don't think anybody else is going to have this. And I had this down for multiple categories, which is actually kind of sad. I had this down for potential best entrance, and I had it down for potential best Smark Out Moment of the year to a little bit. Shawn Michaels eating the kids' pizza on Monday Night Raw, the 19th of October. What the hell was that? I mean, that was like, you would have told me in 2014, here's a list of things that are going to happen in the year. We're going to have, like, Seth Rollins is going to get injured, Sting is going to get injured, this person's going to win, whatever like that, whatever, blah, 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 this and that and that. Shawn Michaels is going to eat some kid's pizza in the audience. I would have been like, wait, what? No, that's the one thing that's clearly not going to happen. And it happened. He walked
I think
down
I'm
the ramp.
cute. I stole your pizza.
I know, I'm hungry. Like, it just, I was not expecting that at all. That was the utter most shocking. Just, I had to rewind and just be like, he didn't really just eat that kid's pizza, did he? It's like that, the moment in, I think it was like Spider-Man, where he says, he just stole that guy's pizza. Like, what? Most shocking moment of the year by far. So, Wago, what do you think? What was the most and least shocking thing that happened this year in WWE?
So, shit, where did my notes go? They scrolled. They're scrolling still. Okay, here we go. So,
Paden's
the
got 'em.
least... Cool, thanks, Paden. The least shocking one had to be Sheamus cashing in. Everyone was kind of like, Sheamus is probably going to cash in. I hope Sheamus doesn't cash in. Please don't cash in. God damn it. Best? Vince coming back and being the guy that finally got Roman Reigns a babyface reaction. I marked out for that whole thing. Vince has still got it. The interplay with him and Roman was great, and it finally turned around a lot of shit that shouldn't be this way.
Shaun, best and or not best, most and the least shocking thing of the year.
Least shocking for me was Roman Reigns winning the title on Raw. As per normal.
I
Most
didn't think that was going to happen.
when it was announced, come on. His career for the title, like, give me a fucking break.
Well, Shaun just predicts everything with every person ever, so he could claim that he was the one that knew it.
For most shocking, I'm gonna go with
Baron Corbin not
Corbin
being the one to
pins-
watch.
Baron Corbin pins Apollo Crews at London Takeover. I honestly thought he was gonna lose that match. And when he won, I was over the fucking moon. I sent a fucking voice chat of my reaction. I was like, over the fucking moon. Love Baron Corbin. He's so good.
Paden, what do you think? Most and least shocking.
Most shocking for me is actually the return of the Dudley Boys. I definitely did not see that one coming when they just all of a sudden their pyro hit and their music and then they're walking down and they just kick some ass and like, you know who we are? We're the Dudley Boys! And I was like, oh, wow. That was a fun moment.
Wow, I know who you are.
You are the Dudley Boys.
You're the Dudley Boys. What's up?
Least shocking, the crowd's reaction at Royal Rumble when Roman Reigns won. As intense as it was, you had to have expected that, especially with the treatment of Daniel Bryan, Dean Ambrose, Dolph Ziggler, and all the people they actually wanted to win. That should have had those guys as the final four, and then it would have been much more intense, and then maybe people would have been more respectful about it. But the fact that those guys were all just treated like total jabronis, Daniel Bryan especially, Philly did not have nothing to do with that, and they got what they deserved for it. They should have known better based on what happened the year before. Hopefully this year they'll learn.
Hopefully. Drew, what's the most and least shocking?
For the least shocking moment of the year, definitely gonna be when you had when Cena beat Rusev at WrestleMania. I'm gonna go when Daniel Bryan won at WrestleMania. On all those matches I would have bet the house on, definitely would have been that match. People thought Dean Ambrose had a shot. Dolph Ziggler had a shot. They didn't have a shot. It was always gonna be Daniel Bryan. It made the most fucking sense. I don't understand why people question that as much as they did. So when Daniel Bryan won at WrestleMania, I was happy, but that didn't shock me at all that he won. So when it comes to the most shocked moment of the year, it's a tie, and it's two Seth Rollins moments, obviously, because what else would it be? It would be when Seth Rollins' music played at WrestleMania, and looking back, it's not surprising that he did it, but just the Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar just having a kick-ass match, it was completely unexpected, because who would have thought Seth Rollins would try to cash in on a Brock Lesnar match? It was just crazy to think that he was doing it, and then he eventually did it. One of my most shocking moments of the year definitely will probably be just the triple threat match at the Royal Rumble between Seth Rollins, Cena, and Brock Lesnar. It was just an amazing match. It had me on the edge of my seat, and just when he did the Phoenix Splash, I was like, holy shit! Not expecting that fucking thing that Neville does. It's nothing. It's better. It's nothing. Seth Rollins is the best ever. So that's gonna be it's tied between those two.
Calen, round us out. What's the most and least shocking moment of the year?
I'm going to start with my least shocking. Before, I was thinking it was Reigns winning at the Royal Rumble because we kind of all thought it was inevitable that he was going to win the Royal Rumble, which he did. But I think even more telegraphed than that one was one of you guys had already said it, was Sheamus cashing in on Roman Reigns at Survivor Series. When we found out that the final was Roman Reigns versus Dean Ambrose, which we were all kind of thinking going into that, seeing how the brackets were laying out. Most of us, I think, were predicting that Sheamus was going to actually cash in and steal that victory right away, and that's exactly what happened. I mean, that was pretty obvious. As far as most shocking, and I don't think you guys have mentioned this yet, but this, even though I'm not really a fan of this guy, his reappearance shocked the hell out of me, and that was when he answered Cena's open challenge at Hell in a Cell. Out comes Alberto Del Rio. That I didn't see it. I could have guessed 20 different guys who were going to. What are you doing? I could have guessed 20 different guys who were going to answer that challenge, and I would never have guessed Del Rio. I thought his time with the WWE was completely over, so that was shocking. I wouldn't say it was one of my favorite moments, but I was definitely very surprised.
And that'll take us into something a little bit different here, Smark Out Moments. And that is basically the best and the worst moment of the year in general that you were happy about or that you were just pissed off, angry, disappointed with, that kind of stuff. Actually, both of these are very related to each other as far as my best and the worst go. And I'll just spoil it right now. My worst is the Wiz Khalifa concert on Monday Night Raw from April 9th. But my best is when Kevin Owens powerbombed Machine Gun Kelly off the stage on Raw June 15th. It's the total opposite end of the thing. I mean, I hate when they do concert stuff, and I don't like Wiz Khalifa, so having him do a concert was just pissing me off for no reason. And I thought the same thing was going to happen with Machine Gun Kelly, but the fact that they ended it, and they ended it in such a surprising way, was so much better, and it was worth actually going through that little bit of a concert to have him do that, because that was amazing. And a little nod to something here that at the beginning of the year, January 19th, I had written down, which almost became my Smark Out Moment of the Year if it would have stayed that way. R-Truth said one of the recurring jokes that we've had going on for a little bit since what was it, New York Comic Con last year, which was R-Truth got into the ring and he was like, "You gonna find out," and we were just like, "What the fuck?" He's saying our lines now. Obviously a huge Smark Out moment right there. But Kevin Owens power bombing Machine Gun Kelly gets the thumbs up. Was Khalifa actually giving the concert? Thumbs down. Calen, what do you got?
My best moment, I would say, is the Rollins cash-in at WrestleMania. That was such a sweet moment. Another one of those times, the few times during the year that I actually got up out of my seat. I'm like, yes, all right. So I'm going to give it to Rollins cashing in and capturing the title. The worst, I have got to give to the whole Ziggler, Rusev, Lana, Summer Rae thing. Like, it was just so anticlimactic, and I'm kind of merging our Smark Out moments, our the storyline and everything, but just it was such a mess. I can't, like, I'm so glad it's over. I'm glad that they actually ruined it with the whole posting the photos on Instagram or whatever. But it was so terrible, just that whole thing. So thank God it's over. Sing, sing, sing. All right.
Drew?
Well, thank God that's over.
Jesus Christ.
What?
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Anyways, oh God, Calen. Ugh. God, you really look old there. Keep it up. Anyway. God damn it. Focus. Okay. All right. So, for Smark Out Moment of the Year, my most Smark Out, or least Smark Out Moment of the Year, definitely is. You know what? For least, definitely is going to be that Wiz Khalifa segment. I'm pretty positive. I was just looking at my phone the entire time, texting. We were probably in a group chat somewhere, just talking. I look up. He's on like his second song. Okay, next one's gonna be over. Go back down. Look back up, and I'm like, he's still fucking doing this. He'll be done soon, hopefully. For like 10 fucking minutes. Are you kidding me? Jesus Christ, Wiz Khalifa, get. The only time I do have his Wiz Khalifa John Cena song on my phone. The one good thing that he's done in WWE was that song. For most Smark Out Moment of the Year, I think that's the right way of saying it. It's good when Seth Rollins won the title at WrestleMania easily. It caught me off guard. I was 100% into the match beforehand, and I was 1,000% into the match afterwards. And when he won the title, I was just like, "Happy days of Shaun Walker." So,
When has Shaun ever sounded like that?
as happy
He does say that a lot. Yeah.
As happy I was, and I said I was like 1,000 times happy at the time. Shaun was on a whole fucking devil level, so I couldn't imagine how happy he was. So that is gonna be my Smark Out Moment of the Year.
Paden, you're up next.
Well, for my worst, this is going to go to a segment that I've given a few awards to, or at least a program that has, and that is going to be that whole love triangle with Rusev and Lana, Dolph Ziggler, and Summer Rae. This specifically is going to go to a segment that I remember being horrendously bad, and it was after Rusev had hooked up with Summer Rae and she started dressing up like Lana, there was a segment where he brought her out and started awarding her with gifts.
Yeah.
Oh, terrible. And I remember one of them specifically was a fish. And it was just a really, really bad segment. I believe that was also the segment where she called him Ruru.
Hmm.
So much damage all around to everything, to the product, to Rusev's character, to their viewership. I would almost say that storyline is almost a large part responsible for why their ratings are so low at this point. That was awful. My biggest Smark Out Moment of the Year, though, has to go to NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. That Divas, I feel bad calling it Divas, women's wrestling title match between Sasha Banks and Bayley, specifically the post-match celebration where the 4 horsewomen all came out, embraced each other, held each other's hands up to the crowd, clapping along. I mean, you're talking about something that just makes everything feel special. That is it. That was such a happy moment to have watched and especially have been there a part of. Maybe that's making me a little favoritist towards it, but for me that was the biggest moment of the year.
Shaun, Smark Out Moments, what do you got?
Worst, when Jon Stewart come up with a fucking share at SummerSlam. It was fucking terrible. Oh, it was Jon Stewart, right? I am going do I have that whose name right? I don't fucking know. I don't get him over here. For best, I was gonna go with Seth's cash-in, but I've gone with Bray Wyatt costing Roman Reigns money in the bank. Anybody but Roman.
Second follow-up question, what are you eating?
Salt and vinegar crisps.
Yeah.
Fucking lush.
Wago,
Trying to sober up.
what's your Smark Out Moment list?
Alright, so for the worst, it's simple. They've had all these NXT debuts, and one man they missed. Curry Man. The fuck. As far as the best Smark Out moment, I actually marked out for Roman Reigns winning the title. I've wanted it for a while. I finally got it, and fuck Sheamus.
On a similar path to what a lot of people have kind of throwing in their best and worst storyline of the year. My worst, I don't need to explain, is the love rectangle between Lana, Rusev, Summer Rae, and Dolph Ziggler for just many reasons. Best storyline, I was kind of bouncing around between 3 different things. I really liked Axelmania. I really liked the beginning of Kevin Owens dominating Sami Zayn, but it sort of fell off towards the end. And eventually I gave it to the one that I thought was kind of by default the best, even though it's not really, like, I'm not going to remember it a year from now that much. Anyone But You, Roman Reigns, the Bray Wyatt storyline. I think that that's the only one that really kind of progressed in a logical fashion, and it went from it started in a way that made sense, and then it continued in a way that made sense, and it ended in a way that made sense too. So I think that that's pretty much the only one I can really give a pat on the back to overall. So Wago, storyline, best and worst, what do you got?
Sorry, I was looking at a gif of fucking Rey Mysterio, like, doing a pull-up on a shelf, and the shelf gives way and he collapses on the floor. It's fucking great. As far as the worst storyline goes, it has to be that Lana, Rusev, Dolphin Somersault storyline. Fucking terrible. Some of the worst booking they've done, period. Fucking hated it. Best, Kevin Owens versus John Cena. While the plot wasn't probably the most in-depth, it didn't need to be. Just 2 guys going out there trying to find out who the better man is.
John, what do you think?
Best and worst storyline. Worst, all of them. None of these storylines have been any good this year. They've all been fucking dreadful, fucking abysmal. It's been the worst. It's been the worst year to be a wrestling fan, in my opinion, and that's what I'm going with. If you don't like it, send me a tweet at Shaughnessy2K37. I will not read it.
I will send it now then.
And then he shuts off his camera. Paden, your camera's off, but you're next.
Well, the best storyline was absolutely the tortured soul of Kane having to figure out if he was a corporate man or still the demon inside. Because it's really tough to fight your inner demon.
I like how you kept the glasses on.
And the worst is that love story between Rusev and all those other people I'm not naming again. Fuck that shit. Fuck that shit.
Oh, fuck that shit. Fuck that shit. Drew, what's next?
I can't believe it's my turn already. And for worst, it's definitely got to be that Charlotte and Paige thing. And, you know.
You look at Grandfather Kane with the way that.
Yeah. It's a tie between that and Divas Revolution as a whole, because that really was not as good. Ooh. So, don't catch your beard on fire. Anyways.
Back in my day, we used to set announcers on fire.
But it's a tie between the Divas Revolution and that Paige Charlotte feud, because they both disappointing. what they could have done and what they accomplished. None of them really amounted to anything. So, for best,
This
I
is why you
don't know.
prepare the list
You
beforehand.
know, I do have a list, but my list is blank because I couldn't really think of a story. Because in most cases in WWE, they don't really have much of a storyline for most of them.
Huge Rue rant.
But if I'm gonna go with best, it's probably gonna have to be just the New Day just cheating to make sure the Dudleys couldn't win the title because they just disqualified themselves so they couldn't lose it. So I'm gonna go with that because that was a storyline at one point. I mean, I could have said Tommy Dreamer, but fuck, that's too easy for worse.
All right, Calen.
The worst I already mentioned, and that's the love triangle, quadrangle, whatever the fuck that shit is.
There's quadrangles. I think you need to go back to geometry.
I don't even want to talk about it anymore. It was terrible. We all know that. As far as the best, I was kind of struggling to come up with the best storyline, but I think one of the most touching feel-good storylines, I think, would be the story of Bayley, about how she had to fight. It's been her dream since she was a little girl, and she finally was able to realize that dream. She was overcoming all the odds, had to fight and claw, and it was such a feel-good moment. So I'm going to say the whole rise of Bayley this year.
Best TV show or web program or any other kind of network show, anything like that. They're all kind of together here. There's a lot. I'm not going to run them all down. And if you don't know all the ones, like the even bottom line and all that other kind of crap, go check out the list. It's up on smarkoutmoment.com. But the best and the worst of those. The worst I'm going to give to every single recap show that they have, because there's no point for having something like Afterburn or Vintage or even like the WWE list and stuff for the most part. Any of these that just are the recaps of what we've seen on Raw and SmackDown and whatever, utterly pointless. You do it enough as it is. But the best is going to be Breaking Ground, and I was really struggling here between NXT and Table for Three and Breaking Ground, and even Up, Up, Down, Down I'm a big fan of. But Breaking Ground so far has been the only one where every single episode of Breaking Ground has been entertaining as hell for me. NXT once in a while, it might not be the best in the world. Table for Three, they're cutting them way too short. They're like 20 minutes long now. They should be like an hour or something. And Up, Up, Down, Down once in a while, you get somebody on I don't really care about or whatever. But Breaking Ground has been just awesome, top to bottom. And I wouldn't have thought so if they would have said, we're going to have a show of William Shatner and ZZ and whatever. But I'm just digging it 100%. Breaking Ground, best. Every recap show, all tied with the worst. Calen, what are your TV shows?
All right. I am not even really counting the recap shows since I don't really count them as shows. For my favorites, I'm going to say a lot of the ones that you had mentioned. Up, Up, Down, Down is a lot of fun. That's not my favorite, but it's a lot of fun. I like to tune into that. Table for Three is a great idea, but as you said, Tony, they need to expand upon it. They need to do them more often with different combinations of guys and make them longer. Give them more time to talk. I love hearing those road stories. For the best, I'm going to have to say the one that's most consistent in quality, NXT. It's definitely the best wrestling show out there right now, I'd say. For the worst, I'm going to have to give it to a show that I accidentally caught about a minute of once, and it's called Total Divas. And yeah, I'm giving it to that, because that was enough for me to know that I never want to watch that ever again.
Drew.
For worse, Total Divas makes sense, so I'm going to go with Total Divas for the worst. For the best, I didn't want to give it to like a wrestling program necessarily, so Raw, SmackDown, NXT, all that's just disqualified because they're there every year and they're not really original programming at this point. So for that, I'm going to have to go with Table for Three. It's an interesting concept. Like you guys said, they need to expand on the idea in some sort of way, but the original few episodes they've had were really good, and then I've gone back and watched them quite a couple times, so definitely going to be Table for Three.
Kane, what do you think? You gotta unmute first. And you gotta not drop your glasses.
I just got you guys. Not really Kane. It's actually Paden. Nah, you didn't even know. I could easily choose one of those recap shows, like you were saying, Tony. But I also, like Calen, don't even think about those. Those don't even matter because I mean, really they're recaps. How could you even consider them shows? They're nothing original. If I'm going by what is the worst, going with original content, SmackDown. SmackDown is just a terrible show at this point. SmackDown used to be must-see TV as much as Raw was. In fact, there were times where SmackDown was the better show. But at this point, I can't even stand watching all 3 hours of Raw, let alone giving a crap about watching 2 hours of SmackDown. And coming up in January, they're going to be making a move of SmackDown coming to USA, and they're going to try to play a trick on you by making it seem like SmackDown's going to be important. Like maybe they'll put a title match on there or something for the first couple of weeks. But it won't be long before SmackDown is back to being a drizzling shit show. Don't ever watch it.
Even worse than Main Eventer Superstars?
I mean, you know what you're getting with that. Main Eventer Superstars is supposed to be the show for introductory talent to go out there and do stuff. SmackDown, I mean, this is a show that was on network TV at one point.
Sometimes they actually have better fucking matches on Superstars too, because they just focus on wrestling.
Indeed. As far as my best show, I'll tell you what the best show of 2015 was, and you probably haven't been watching it, and that is Lucha Underground. That show was incredible. I had so much fun watching it every week. It was the most consistently great show. NXT was up there, but Lucha Underground whittles above it just a tiny hair. Maybe it's because there's been this lull, or there's been this little break. They have an off season. You know, they say wrestling doesn't have an off season. Well, Lucha Underground does. If you haven't had a chance yet, though, you got a little bit of time to catch up, or at least go and catch their specials, because season 2 starts in January, and I am so hyped for that, much more than I am to see what anything WWE has coming up. That's for sure.
So just to clarify, Paden's choice for the best WWE show of the year is Lucha Underground.
That's why I didn't.
Yeah.
Where does it
like,
say best WWE show?
It's the best and the worst of WWE.
Where does it say that?
All over the place.
No, it says Smark Out Moment Awards.
The best and the worst of
Like,
WWE.
if we're doing outside of shows, I need to like change a few of my answers.
Right, yeah. Well, then TNA would just be the worst for everything. That's why.
It could
we'll
be
move-
for some of them.
We'll move on, though. Shaun, what are your best and your worst TV shows or web programs or anything else like that?
Well, considering I only watch 3 of their shows, which is NXT, Raw, and Total Divas, I'm going to give the best to NXT and the worst to Raw. Because fuck that shit. I'm not going to stay up till 4 a.m. to watch crap. Alright? I got better things to do with my time, like fucking sleep.
So you're saying Raw is worse than Total Divas?
Fucking yes. More interesting shit happens on Total Divas. Like, you know, Daniel Bryan installed a fucking toilet the other day.
Where you get to actually see Paige's house.
Mm-hmm. And she got engaged the other day. It was really good. You know, I'd binge watch it. You should binge watch it. That's all I'm saying.
You shouldn't even been watch it. Wago. Unmute your mic.
Ah, goddammit, I clicked on it, but it didn't click. So for the worst show, I'm going to have to give it to SmackDown. It's just a rehash of Raw with more bullshit. For the best show, I'm going to have to give it for Table for 3. It's just a good show.
Drew,
Yeah.
what the hell are you doing there?
What a fucking dweeb.
All right, last award for the writing side of things, the best or the worst pay-per-view or special event, because they're calling them kind of both now. There's all the normal pay-per-views, and also are the NXT TakeOver shows, the Beast in the East special, King of the Ring, Elimination Chamber, live from Madison Square Garden, Slammy Awards, and Tribute to the Troops. So that's all the stuff that we're working with here. And I'm giving my worst to Fastlane, because fuck Fastlane, that was just abysmal, and it was from top to bottom. I mean, we had a pay-per-view headlined by the match that illustrated the point that pissed people off on the pay-per-view beforehand and pissed people off about what was going to happen for the pay-per-view afterward. If people are pissed that a certain thing happened, you don't reiterate the point to them that you don't want, oh, you guys wanted Daniel Bryan to win and not Roman Reigns? Well, we're going to have them, the two of them, face off against each other, and for Roman Reigns to lose, and for Daniel Bryan to be like, no, guys, it's okay, we like him. I like Roman Reigns, I like Daniel Bryan, I rooted for Roman Reigns or whatever, but it was a stupid fucking idea. And we had bad shit on top of that, too, because we had stuff like the Goldust match against Stardust, where they didn't want to fight each other. And we had John Cena essentially beating Rusev underwhelmingly before he would beat him again. It's just a waste, and I think that this is just ridiculous. And I would have rather them not had a pay-per-view than had Fastlane. And this year, when they do Fastlane again, they need to really step it up, and I don't think that they're going to either. But my best pay-per-view or special event of the year, very, very close to WrestleMania, them proving me wrong, but I'm going to give it to NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. That was another like top to bottom, really solid thing. We had a best match of the year as far as I was concerned. We had some a good match between Finn Balor and what was it, Kevin Owens, if I remember correctly, for the end of that pay-per-view. It was just, I mean, NXT has just been awesome this year, and overall that was probably my favorite NXT show. So giving that the best, even though WrestleMania very, very, very close. Like, I could pretty much give it to WrestleMania and not feel bad about it either. So, Wago, once you're done laughing.
So, best pay-per-view, WrestleMania. It's fucking WrestleMania, duh.
Did. Totally did. It's WrestleMania.
I said duh.
I thought you said did.
No,
You got the hair to be able to say it.
Yeah,
dude.
WrestleMania.
Yeah, dude, WrestleMania, yeah, bruh.
The only person that says bra today is fucking rude.
Yeah, bruh.
But worst, I was not a fan of TLC. Blah. Nothing meaningful happened. Fuck it.
Yeah, that sucked. Shaun, best and worst pay-per-view.
You ready for this? I got a fucking
airplane
list
there?
right now. I've got a list of worst pay-per-views. You ready? Worst: TLC, Fastlane, SummerSlam, King of the Ring, Elimination Chamber, and many more. Best
And
WrestleMania, best WrestleMania, NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, and NXT London.
you didn't even say armbar.
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 There you go.
Outro.
Well, that's armbar, not armbarb.
Armbarb. Paden, what do you think? Special events.
For worst special event, I am going with SummerSlam, just because of what you expect SummerSlam to be. SummerSlam is supposed to be the biggest show of the year under WrestleMania. And with how great WrestleMania delivered, and honestly, WWE was having a relatively good year up to that point. SummerSlam was kind of the tipping point where they really changed the feel of WWE to the point where everyone is so agitated with it at this point. The show is just bad, almost top to bottom, especially with that whole Jon Stewart coming out with the chair and interfering with the main event. I hated that show. It put such a bad taste.
Was that it was 4 hours long.
Oh, I forgot about that part about it. And it was the night after Brooklyn, which was an amazing show. How are they going to let the quote-unquote minor league guys go out there and deliver such a kick-ass show and then go out there and have such an abysmal night the night after? It's unforgivable for them to have had such a bad show that night. So they're coming back to Barclays next year and doing that same 3-night thing again. So I hope that doesn't affect their sales for that year, because I would love for them to make that a regular thing. But they have to have a much better show if they're going to do that again. For my best show, go ahead and laugh at me again. I don't care. I'm going with it again. Ultima Lucha, the big season finale for Lucha Underground. Amazing, amazing show. It's 2 parts, so if you're going to watch it, make sure you watch both parts. It's actually worth it. So many fun matches from a variety, from main event level type stuff to gimmicky things, hardcore stuff, women, not like boring divas matches, just like really, really interesting stuff throughout the whole show. Check that out.
A lot of great WWE stuff in that one.
Well, yeah, there was. I mean, John Morrison was there, Alberto Del Rio.
That's it.
That one guy.
Well,
Yeah,
there's
The dude in the crowd, I think he's been in one of the WWE events.
Rey
Chavo-
Mysterio will be there next year. Chavo
Chavo
Guerrero.
Guerrero, he's great. Fucking hell.
Ezekiel Jackson, he's there.
Big old Rick.
Big Rick.
Drew, your special events.
For special events, my best special event of the year definitely going to be WrestleMania 31. Just an amazing show. Go back, watch it still, and enjoy every second of it like it was my first time. So definitely going to be that. For my worst, I had a tough time deciding because TLC was kind of a drag, and the Rumble at least had one good match on it, and Fastlane was Fastlane. So I think I'm going to go for worst show. It's going to be TLC, and I don't think it was too bad necessarily, but it just wasn't good.
Ended that a little abruptly. Calen, what's your list for best and worst?
All right, I'm going to start off with my worst. Some of you guys were saying Fastlane and TLC, and that's fair, but I'm going to say my worst was Payback. Now, that was the one where Seth Rollins, if he lost the championship, that Kane would lose his position of Director of Operations. I don't know about you guys, but I was worried. I was so worried. Let's see, who else was on that card? You know, Cena was versus Rusev in the I Quit match. I mean, there's just kind of a lackluster card. As far as the best, though, WrestleMania 31 is an easy pick. I enjoyed the show pretty much top to bottom. It was very solid, but one that I think overall I enjoyed even more than WrestleMania 31 was NXT TakeOver, not Brooklyn, but Rival, NXT TakeOver Rival. That is the one where Kevin Owens demolished Sami Zayn. He just beat him to a pulp. It was one where Sasha Banks captured the title in that Fatal 4-Way, which I think was such a great match. So overall, I'm going to say the best one for me this year, NXT TakeOver Rival.
That's it for the Writing Awards. We got the Performer Awards coming up next, so make sure you click on Part 3 and tell us what you think about all the things that we just broke down here in the comments below. Part 3 is coming up next.